It's Wayne Moseley with a beautiful indie show special. This is all about Otherish today. I have got Francis and George with me today. How are you both doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. Feeling human and alive.
Great. Well, look, as you probably know, your album, How Lucky We Are Being Us and Each Other, was my LP of the year. It's just unique. I think that, obviously I'll be playing some of your music to go with this interview, but tell me about the origins of the band in how you started out to where you are now.
Well, we go back a long way, all the way back to, I suppose, Belfast, where Francis and Paul and Mark were born and lived then, and so they've known each other all their lives. And myself, I met Francis when we were ancient 18 or something, whenever that was, and we formed a band, and then we then all convened in Bristol, all of us, that's Mark, Paul, Francis and myself, and we had a band called Me, which was together up until 1996, 6. We did loads of gigs, and we put out a couple of albums, and then we kind of all went our separate ways a bit and carried on doing music and other things. And then sort of in the 20 teens, I think it was, we decided to kind of start making music together again. And it was kind of a on-off process, kind of getting it to work for us and musically and everything. And then come the beautiful 2020s, we actually got our fingers out and started making some music, and we've got 2 Otherish albums. There's one before this one, but they kind of run into each other in our heads because they were all part of one long recording sort of process, which happened mostly mostly in Bristol, but Francis was mostly in Belfast, except when he could get over. So we were swapping files and chipping in, and yeah, that's how it happened.
Wow, yeah, well, that sounds a very organic process, but the thing that stood out to me there is the longevity of your friendship, and obviously how many years you've been making music. So that's a testament in itself. But from my point of view, what stands out with your album last year in particular was it's just so different. The production, did you produce it yourselves? Because the production is stunning, honestly. Whoever engineered your album deserves a medal. It sounds beautiful, it really does.
After you, George.
Yeah, we kind of produced it in conjunction mainly with a lovely man in Bristol called Jim Barr, who runs a studio there, was also the bass player with Portishead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so with our stupid ideas and his incredible skill and talent, and also he contributed sort of bits and pieces here and there. That's mostly why it sounds like it did, although some of the tracks were recorded, partly at home, partly in the studio. So but I think, I don't know, there was perhaps just a general unspoken idea of how we wanted it to sound, but it wasn't really very, wasn't like a meta-conscious thing,
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere of the album now makes it feel like, sorry to use the dreaded word, concepts, but it knits together so well that it does almost feel retro, but at the same time, with themes and concepts to it. And to me, I'm not going to influence my listeners because obviously I've been playing your music in bite-sized chunks. But when you hear it as a whole, it's like it's a masterpiece, because there's the eerie ethereal tones of it, and then you've got, you know, full on sort of indie rock songs with elements of folk. I'm guessing, I mean, I guess we didn't plan that, it just came together.
Yes. Yeah. When, listen, you know, thank you so much for hearing us and perceiving us the way you do. It's very lovely for us. We were, you know, completely floored and delighted when, you know, when you heard us so generously. What would yes, I mean, Jim is absolutely the man that produced that string of a couple of albums. Although a few tracks on the third album were produced by Nigel Martin in Belfast, and he, similar to Jim, you know, he's extremely sensitive, knowledgeable, kind of music loving producer engineer, which you know, we really benefit from. The way that we go back so long, it's like you know, so in the 1990s, you know, music became like a kind of a job for us. So we were absolutely in the business, touring, and that mix up between music being a kind of a way of life and a job. But those kind of definitions don't really apply to us anymore. You know, is it a job? Is it a hobby? None of those things. It's more like a kind of a meaning of life, or a part of the very core of what we are. You know, as you know, human existence. You know, part of our human existence is just the making of music. So it's more like a religion. You know, so when we get really deep into our kind of belief system. The details of the music, you know, that's what we are. That's in a way, that's the kind of stage we've reached now. We're past the kind of old games, the old music-based type games. So in a way, we're not really trying to get recognized, just trying to satisfy some kind of urge in ourselves to make music together and to see what kind of creations come out of that. But you know, from my point of view, I'm Francis, by the way, and yeah, so I'm very aware of you know, the other two songwriters in the band, George, who's here with us now, and Paul. So there's very much this kind of dance between us of you know, making small or large contributions to each other's ideas, and this kind of constant swirl of kind of lovely interaction, you know, lovely sort of artistic interaction, and not a lot to do with looking good, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you know, I'm in the same position as you. I've stopped sort of chasing things and dreams a while ago, and funny enough, recently I noticed an actor. His name escapes me, but he's been around the business a while, and he said that when he was chasing acting parts, they were hard to come by, and then suddenly things land in your lap, and that's the same with the creative forces, music, acting, art, isn't it? That sometimes you appreciate it later on, or when, you know, when you stop overthinking it, things like your album happen, my radio shows have happened, and it's sometimes pure luck. You can drive things, but the best things that happen naturally, in my opinion. And obviously your sound is naturally you, Otherish. It's unique, but obviously it's of the moment, isn't it?
Very much so. At least it's us trying to be us, and in the kind of process of creating stuff, you know, no rules apply. I mean, some of our material is literally plucked out of the moment, and that would apply mostly to the way Paul makes music. Paul, who's not with us, but right across our kind of creative spectrum, there's well, all of it starts in a kind of a spontaneous moment, and that either becomes the thing, or it kind of starts a kind of a trickle, which then ends up a song. But when, you know, I'm very aware that you're a creative writer yourself, very aware that you have a past also in the music business. So I'm sure, you know, it's just hugely honouring to us that you would be the person that lands in our lap, as it were. That you would be the universe's little bird that flies in our window. I mean, that's really kind of you. Thank you.
Well, you know, I must admit, with the amount of music submissions that I get, and I get many, what am I looking for? I try not to become like the A&R man, whereby, you know, you listen to something, but you do naturally, because after 30 seconds, I either like it or I don't. And, you know, obviously I support unsigned, emerging, experienced artists, whatever. To me, that's me. I'm always trying to find that nugget of gold. I just want to rewind a bit then. So you obviously all very experienced songwriters. So are you writing together or separately? How does that work?
Every which way. Let George speak now. I've probably blethered.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah,
some of them will be made or, you know, written completely independently, and then others will contribute, or you know, they can happen, like for example, the song "The Good, the Real, the Beautiful." That was
I love that. What a beat! What a drum beat in that. Love
yeah,
it.
all the music
jazz,
on that.
the swing and groove of that song. Oh, I've got a shiver down my spine thinking about it now.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I mean, that one was the music is Paul. Paul was putting together that music in the studio, and I was there. And then I suddenly thought, oh, I could sing. I had, you know, a song that I was working on in my head, and I thought I could actually sing that song to this music. So then I said, "Can I have a go, Paul?" He said, "Yeah, of course." So you know, I jumped in the booth and bashed it out twice, literally thinking it up as I went. I had the words, but I had to kind of fit it into his music. So that, and it just seemed to work. And
it's a stunning track, honestly. And because of, yeah, as you say, I'm lucky because I am musical. If it just the hook of the drums and the melody is spine tingling, that song. And as you know, I played that probably a couple of times now because it was the track early on that really sort of grabbed my attention. So yeah, if I was going to sample a song and beat, it would be that one. Well, so back to songwriting. That's really interesting, that is, because as you say, you seized the moments. You got in the booth. I presume you had some lyrics and a melody already in mind, and then it just happened. So that was obviously very quick. But how long did it take you to actually record and finish the album?
Oh, right. Okay, well, as George was saying earlier, how lucky we are being us and each other is kind of like the second chapter of a 2-chapter period. So about 6 months before that album came out, we released an album called Gone Wrong Rainbow Blues. And as George said, the recording sessions kind of bled into each other. So some of the songs on How Lucky We Are Being Us and Each Other were recorded in 2022, and some in early 2023. And I suppose from our point of view, those two albums are siblings of each other, but obviously it was the second one that you noticed. But yeah, so you know, thank you for noticing it. Would you agree, George, that somehow both those records kind of seem to come from the same general energy kind of pool at the time?
yeah, definitely. Although I think with a lot of your songs on the second one, that was that felt like you were kind of going up a gear.
Okay.
You know, because you were getting the thing together with Nigel more, so that kind of added a new, you know, which I think helps this album to kind of, I don't know, it kind of it's like forking the compost heap or something.
Yes.
I like that term. That's brilliant. That is.
Yes, forking the compost heap. Yeah, stoking the crematorium.
Yes. I'm conscious of the time at the moment, so we've got around about 5-ish minutes. So what obviously I've been very lucky in that I've heard some of your demos for the next chapter of Otherish, and some of those songs have gone up another level, honestly. I've heard demos where it's been a drum machine, and now obviously acoustic drums have been added. What can you tell me about the next phase of Otherish then?
Oh, brilliant, Wayne. Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, your response to, first of all, a few demos and then the beginnings of the fourth album. Yes, the key point there is the deep understanding of the need for a human drummer in our music. I think these days it's quite possible to make very perfect sounding music with digital drums, but there's some kind of strange effect from that doesn't sit well with us, I think. So our drummer, Mark, Paul's actual brother, and very much one of our core, you know, four brothers who are Otherish at the core of the band. So Mark actually came to Belfast to visit his mum, and this just gave us an opportunity for him to jump in the studio and record lots of live drums, which are now, those live drums have now been integrated into those demo tracks that I sent you, and we've been working on the vocals and the instrumental accompaniment, and the whole thing starts to become a much more organic monster. At least the stuff in Belfast that I was doing, I began with click tracks and digital drums, but they will be completely removed in the end, I think. And George, some of the new things that George has started in England, you know, no click tracks, I think, from George. We've actually had some extremely organic percussion. So
yeah, I think
yeah.
I have a growing feeling of wanting to try and make music without a lot of that stuff. I feel it's creeping in to all our lives to such an extent that it's robbing our souls or something, or certainly draining them of a certain thing, which I think we all need. So yeah, I do feel more and more like I'd like to make music as we used to do. Not, well, it was long ago for young people, but for us it doesn't seem long ago. You know, we never used any of this stuff.
Yeah,
but you didn't even use a click track.
Yeah, and click track is a necessary evil for keeping everyone in time, but it does strip away and it can stifle that natural sound that we all aspire to have, especially as older generations.
Yeah. Oh, what's happened to us?
That's fine. Modern artists use it, and they want perfection. That's fine. But I'm a big fan of the lo-fi genre, whereby everything's left in. You know, those little imperfections are part of that style. So yeah, having real drums adds soul to the band every time. You can't beat real acoustic drums. So yeah, you're obviously in the midst of recording album 4. I mean, have you set yourself a deadline about when you want to complete it, or are you just going with the flow?
Yeah, we're going with the flow, definitely.
That sounds good.
I mean, it'd be nice if we could finish it. I don't know, at least get most of what we need to do done by the middle of the summer or before the end of the summer, maybe. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes.
And have you got plans to get out and play live, or do you see it as a recording project? Because, as you say, you've done many years of touring, like me as well. I've had a bit of a break from playing live, 2 or 3 years now. And what's your feelings in terms of the promotional side?
Great question. So a question like that is a perfectly normal question to ask most bands or groups or artists. You know, what are your plans to kind of make it in the real world? And honestly, when we wouldn't have any definite plans to make it in the real world, but at the same time, that's not to just say something nonsensical. I think you could kind of imagine a kind of a journey for us where we're trying to do something great. I'm not saying we will do something great, but I suppose we're aiming to try to achieve some kind of greatness for ourselves, not necessarily on anybody else's terms, but our own. And then should that greatness actually be achieved and by amazing chance connect with other people, then there'd be a demand for us, and then we would have an objective kind of reason to get back on the road. But you know, we did serve our time on the road. Like I said earlier, we did do music as a job, as a full-time job in the 1990s, and so we would know how tough it is. We would understand what a really hard job that actually is to keep going. But yes, I mean, totally, it would be beautiful for us, to tour around and do gigs and perform live for people and connect with people that way. That would be lovely. But it's so unplanned for at the moment. Other things would need to happen first, I think. For us to.
And also, I think the fact that you were making your recordings sort of stand out. Let's be honest. The recordings that you're making now are the things that are going to be left behind forever. Gigs come and go, don't they? Live performances, as good as it is, and being part of the band, not being funny, that soon forgotten because you go to another gig and another gig. So yeah, I'm with you on that one, really. The fact that you are leaving, you've got a legacy of recordings there and focused on it. Good for you. Sounds a great plan to me.
Well, thanks, Wayne. I mean, like I say, I do hope that it will be possible to come and see Otherish perform live eventually. That would be, I don't know, George. I mean, when I think about it now, I wasn't thinking about that yesterday or earlier today, but just thinking about that right now. The idea, it's a beautiful idea because it would be so real. There we would be singing and playing those songs in front of people. It would be miraculous and magical and lovely, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because although, Wayne, I think you're right, that obviously the recordings, they stand there in theory forever, but in fact, in many ways, it's actually the live performance that lasts forever because it's real, and its effect on whoever's watching it is with them forever. Whereas actually these physical things eventually will, of course, well, I know they're not physical, they're digital or whatever, but in a sense they are material things, which get washed away.
They can do, but it's obviously you're well onto writing the 4th album. Obviously, that really excites me and my listeners. Well, look, I'm going to wrap things up now. As I said, this is a beautiful indie show, Otherish special. I'll be playing the whole album along with this interview. From your point of view, have you got any particular requests for or? Yeah, I mean, have a think about it. Doesn't have to be now, putting you on the spot. But I'd like me to play a tune on the show that this is going out on, or in a future show. Have a think about it. Let me know. I know we've got a lot of similar sort of musical tastes because Francis, I must thank you in particular for messaging me during my shows of late. It's thanks for that.
It's been my pleasure. I really enjoy listening to both of your shows. Actually, you're a wonderfully relaxed, natural kind of broadcaster, You know, a shout out to all your listeners out there. Hello, beautiful indie show listeners. You're listening to the strange sound of Otherish. When you were asking me, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of an artist called Julian Cope. From your neck of the woods.
Yeah, lived in Tamworth for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a yeah.
He's a maverick.
I mean, what a strange, intelligent, funny, odd artist. And both George and I loved him in the 1980s. We recognized in him, I think, somebody, you know, following his own path, but also confusingly, you know, dancing with the devil, as it were, you know, commercial pop music. But yeah, Julian Cope, and almost anything by him from the sort of 1985, 86 sort of period. Maybe Metronil Vavin. There's a title of a song, Metronil Vavin by Julian Cope, please.
Right. Yeah, that sounds good to me. And is there anything I can play for you, George?
Yeah, have you heard of a band, just popped into my head, have you heard of a band called Cardiacs?
Yeah.
Yes.
A very great band. There's a song of theirs which is rather epic called Naughty Boy. Or Dirty Boy. Naughty Boy or Dirty Boy, I can't remember. Anyway, yes, something boy.
Old friends of ours, Wayne, Cardiacs. They, you know, yeah, we met them a very long time ago and got along very well with them.
Nice one. Well, look, I'm going to sign off now. So, Francis and George, thanks for your time today. Really good to get together like this. I'll keep pushing your wonderful material. I'm looking forward to the next LP. As I said, it's going to be hard to beat how lucky we are being us and each other, because I view that as a masterpiece, but I'm sure you will try and do that. So thanks, really great to meet you both. Honestly, it's been a lot of joy today, so thank you both.
Thank you, Wayne.
Likewise, Wayne. It's lovely to meet you too.
Take care both. We'll speak again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna...
Bye-bye.
Right, so